Thank you, guys. Well, the last couple of days have been horrendous and heartbreaking, an experience none of us could have been prepared for.
To help navigate this incredibly difficult time, we're joined by clinical psychologist Shuktika Bose. Good morning. Nice to see you. This is heavy news for anyone who witnessed it. If you were there in person, obviously horrifying. To perhaps a lesser extent, you're watching it on TV, you're seeing it on social media. Where do we start to try and process such a traumatic event?
Good morning, Kylie. And Larry, this kind of news has really shaken a lot of people, as you said, whether or not we were there in person or watching through our devices. And it's really important to recognise that some of those strong reactions like shock, anger, fear, sadness, that numbness, they're all completely normal. Our brains are wired to scan for danger after events like this, and that's its way of trying to protect us. So the first step isn't actually to analyse or even to make sense of it, it's to steady your nervous system. And what I mean by that is we want to be going back to the basics: sleep, eat regularly, move your body, and stay connected with your trusted people. Limit the repeated exposure to the footage, and know that processing happens gradually through conversations, through routines, and through times. You don't need to bounce back or push through quickly or have it all sorted. These small grounding actions is what helps the brain move out of that threat mode.
Yeah, so when bad news breaks, it can be very hard to escape it now, particularly with our devices. We're glued to our phones, it's on TV, it's on everywhere. Should we be trying to switch off at least temporarily?
Yeah, absolutely. I think staying informed is important, but that overexposure is what can keep our nervous system in a constant state of threat or alarm. And our brains aren't designed to process that repeated graphic or distressing information. So taking intentional breaks from news and from social media can actually help us to settle ourselves. So I would recommend choosing 1 or 2 trusted updates a day and then stepping away and doing something grounding, like moving your body, connecting with someone, or returning to routine.
How should we be talking to children about this? School holidays in effect, a lot of children there at the event, but also being exposed to it through social media, etc. How should you talk to children about these events?
Yeah. That's an excellent question, and it's something that people are talking about a lot more at the moment. The aim here isn't to explain everything to young people, it's to help them feel safe, heard, and not alone. And so you want to be proactive about it. A lot of children will be hearing things from friends, or they'll have overheard conversations, so it helps to check in early and start by asking what they've heard. It's quite possible that their assumptions are scarier than the fact itself. Make sure that you're answering honestly and calmly, using language that's really age appropriate for who they are, and only share what they need to know. The aim is safety, not detail. And remember, it's okay to not know the answers and to say, I don't know, because children will value that honesty. And really, you want to be reassuring their biggest fears, which is about safety. So letting them know that they're safe and that you're safe, and establishing that sense of calm is super important. And as I said earlier, limiting that repeated exposure to the footage is going to be very important to them, and try to keep routines as normal as possible for them, because routine is actually one of the strongest symbols of safety that we have and that children especially need.
OK, so this attack took place somewhere we look at as beautiful and relaxing escape, a perfect place to go at Christmas time for so many families. Now, with Christmas, a lot of people are now fearful of going outside. We've spoken about the cricket. We're about to speak about carols in the domain. What's your message for people as they maybe feel like they have to rethink their Christmas plans?
Yeah, when something violent happens in a familiar place, it can really deeply shake our sense of safety. And that's a very normal human response, and the fear makes sense. So that's the first thing that I want to say. And the expectation isn't that people just carry on as normal, and no one should feel pressured to be okay or to move on quickly. That safety that we feel is rebuilt through those small, ordinary acts, and that might mean going to the shops with someone you trust, sticking to those routines, and reconnecting with community. And healing happens when people are given permission to go slowly, to return, to do those routines and take those small steps. Larry and Kylie, fear narrows our world, but it's connection that slowly expands it again. So we want to really notice those moments of care and kindness in each other.
And what if that's not enough? When should people maybe seek out professional care? if all this isn't working for them?
Yeah, well, if we feel that distress we're feeling is lingering, if it's escalating, or if it's interfering with your sleep, your work, or your relationships, that's probably a really good time to be reaching out. And some of the signs that I might point out are ongoing sleep problems or feelings of panic, feeling that numbness, hopelessness, or overwhelm in a lot of the days, withdrawing from people or from daily life, or using substances to cope. Remember that you don't need to be at breaking point to get support, and that early help can actually make a really big difference. Getting support is not a sign that something is wrong. It's actually how we look after ourselves. And Larry and Carly, the one thing that I want to say to close is that in moments like this, healing doesn't come from having all of the answers. It actually comes from staying connected, looking after our nervous systems, and supporting each other through this.
Well, the problem is there are no answers. That's the problem, right? Thank you very much for your time this morning. We do really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people got a lot of comfort and guidance through your words. Clinical psychologist Shuktika Bose, thank you.
Now, if you or someone you know is struggling, please remember Lifeline is available. 13 11 14. That's 13 11 14. That is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
We're back in just a moment.